Good afternoon. I'm here to talk about Vermont's experience. A little introduction about Vermont. Vermont has 680,000 people. It's one of the most rural states, the second most rural state in the nation. And so you're probably wondering why I'm here to talk to you. I think of this little story in Vermont where there was a Texas rancher coming in his Cadillac and pulls up to this farmer on his tractor on his farm. And the rancher goes, "Oh, I feel so comfortable here. It's nice spread you have." And the farmer goes, "Yep." And he said, "How many head do you have?" He goes, 50 milkers. And he said, "Oh, that's great." And he said, "It just reminds me of being back on my ranch." And he said, "It sometimes takes me a whole day to just drive from one end of my ranch to the other." And the farmer looks at him and says, "Yep, I had a truck like that once." So I'm here to kind of, whatever pearls of wisdom you can get, please enjoy. One of the things that I bring to this is that I represent the state government. I'm the bureaucrat. I'm the one that's in the silos and mixing it around, and I'm not a program person. I used to be a program person, but I'm a systems person now. I'm trying to make the systems work, and this is some of the experience that we've had in Vermont with early childhood. One of the first things I learned when we were looking at early childhood was that the mental health model that I had been used to was not going to be implemented into the early childhood system. We needed to figure out what kind of services we were going to infuse in mental health. I've spent my 30 years on the waterfall in this career until I started on early childhood mental health experiences. What this means to me is that all I've dealt with are kids and families on the brink of falling off and going into some other system, and they need immediate treatment, and indeed, they really don't need treatment, they really need care. And I've been an intervention-modeled professional for my whole entire career. And what really got me going, one of the areas that started the whole strategic planning process 10 years ago of getting into early childhood mental health was meeting with 7 women who were parents of 20-something-year-old children who had been through our system of care, had all the wraparound services, had all the interagency cooperation, had all the work in this. And I was asking them some questions. They had been through the mill. I asked them first, when did they notice that something was wrong with their son or daughter? Everybody said within the first year of birth. I asked them, who did they go to first? Their pediatrician or family practice? What did they say? They said, "He'll grow out of it. There's something wrong. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what to do. Maybe you should make an appointment with your mental health director. Maybe you should just see what goes on, and maybe we'll figure out what to do a little later." There was no basic answers. Then they started childcare. Most of these women were all working. And what happened? They got calls, sometimes 3 times a week. They couldn't keep jobs. They kept on losing jobs, kids getting kicked out of daycare. They started school, more calls. After about 3rd grade, most of the people were not employed anymore. They realized that after 3 jobs, that the needs of their child was just not going to allow them to work anymore, so they were out of work. I asked them when they got help. On the average, the age was around 11. By that time, they all said my child was not going to achieve the #1 goal that they had in their life, and that was to make friends. They had developed such a negative energy around them that adults and other kids kind of shunned them. So this was the trajectory that these families had been on. Their kids were doing marginal as 20-year-olds. And this was the system that I represented, that I thought we had one of the best systems of care in the state for school-age children. I realized we needed to do something better. One of the first things, this story is going to be a little bit about my transformation from a mental health person that thought treatment was the answer to really an early childhood, learning about early childhood and the ways of intervening. The first lesson was that the definition of mental health in early childhood was really about mental health, not mental illness. It was really about the experiencing and regulating and expressing emotion, forming close and secure relationships, and exploring the environment and learning. This was all new to me, this new kind of definition. The other thing we spent a lot of time learning about was the fact that protective and risk factors are very important. I had known a little about risk factors, but I never realized as an interventionist that we could really build on protective factors, and that the protective factors of kids in early childhood are having a positive self-esteem, actively responding to stress, and an ability to elicit positive attention from adults. I also learned that resilient children tend to have environments which they are supportive in critical ways, and a capacity for resilience develops over time in a context of environmental support. That it was about the environment, it was not about the individual in early childhood. I've been dealing with the individual and the family for my whole career, and I'd learned that we need to do something in the environment.